When I met him, I thought I was stepping into something warm. He had this way of listening that made you feel chosen, like whatever you were saying mattered more than the rest of the room. We met through mutual friends. Nothing dramatic, just one of those conversations that accidentally stretched into hours. He talked about his family a lot, how close they were, how they did everything together, Sunday dinners, group chats that never went quiet, parents who were always involved. At the time, I thought it meant stability. I came from a quieter background. My family loved each other, but we believed in doors and schedules and asking before showing up. His world felt louder, fuller. When we started dating seriously, I was flattered by how quickly I was folded into it. His mom insisted I call her by her first name. His sister asked my opinion on wedding colors like I was already permanent. His brother joked that I was basically family now, after knowing me for 6 months. When he proposed, it felt like a natural next step. Nothing extravagant, just us, a quiet evening, a ring he'd clearly saved for. I remember thinking how grounded it all felt. No theatrics, just commitment. The first year of marriage was busy. His mom had a key to our place, just in case. At first, she only used it when we weren't home, then sometimes when we were. His brother stored things in our garage, temporary, he said. Boxes turned into furniture. Furniture turned into a permanent rearrangement of space that wasn't really ours anymore. Family dinners weren't optional. They were assumed. Miss one, and you'd hear about it for weeks. I adjusted. I told myself this was what marrying into a big family looked like. The money part crept in quietly. A few months after the wedding, his brother needed $3,000 for a business opportunity. Just short term, they said. He'll pay it back. I transferred the money without much thought. We were doing well. It felt like helping. Then his sister needed help with rent. Just once. That once became 4 months. Then his parents' AC unit broke in the middle of summer, and somehow the solution involved my savings account. Every situation came wrapped in urgency, in guilt, in the language of family obligation. Whenever I hesitated, even slightly, I got the same explanation. We're just like this. Family helps family. You wouldn't understand unless you grew up like us. So I tried to understand. I paid about 70% of our shared expenses because I made more, and because his paycheck was constantly being drained by emergencies. I told myself this was temporary, that once things stabilized, once everyone got back on their feet, it would even out. But it never did. Looking back, there were moments I should have stopped and asked harder questions, like why no one ever paid anything back, or why every solution somehow led to my wallet, or why every time I tried to protect our plans, I was made to feel selfish. But love makes you generous, and hope makes you patient. I really believed we were building something together. I didn't realize I was the only one investing in it. The trip was supposed to be simple. A coast vacation for my birthday. Nothing extravagant, just a nice hotel, ocean air, a few days away from noise and obligation. I'd planned it months in advance, booked the room early, requested time off, coordinated everything so it wouldn't inconvenience anyone. I was careful like that, always careful. That morning, I was in the kitchen making coffee, still half asleep, already picturing the sound of waves and the relief of leaving our phones on silent. His phone rang. His mom's name lit up the screen. I didn't think anything of it at first. I'd learned to tune those calls into background noise. He answered, leaning against the counter, nodding as he listened. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I didn't need to. I heard it anyway. Of course we'll help, he said easily. I'll cancel our trip. The mug froze in my hand. I turned toward him slowly. He hadn't even looked at me. He was already pacing, already agreeing, already solving a problem that apparently didn't require my input. When he hung up, I asked, "What did you just say?" He frowned like I was interrupting something obvious. My brother needs a co-signer on a loan. $8,000. He needs it fast. And you told her we'd cancel our trip, I said. He shrugged. It can wait. No, I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. It can't. That made him stop. He looked at me like I'd switched languages mid-sentence. What do you mean, no? I mean, no, I said. We're not canceling, and we're not co-signing. His expression changed. Not anger, disbelief. The kind that says you've stepped out of line without permission. He's my brother, he said. He needs us. Your brother needs a co-signer for a loan he's going to default on, I replied. That's not our problem. His jaw tightened. He put his hand over the phone when his mom called back, his voice sharp and urgent. What is wrong with you? What's wrong is that you made a decision about my birthday without even asking me. We don't have time to debate this, he snapped. We're helping him. No, I said again, louder this time. I'm done funding your family's disasters. The look on his face. That was the moment something inside me shifted. It wasn't anger, it was offense, like I'd broken an unspoken rule. We've always helped, he said. That's how my family works. And where do I fit into that? I asked. He didn't hesitate. My family comes first, he said. You come second. The silence after that felt physical, like the air had been pulled out of the room. Say that again, I said quietly. My family comes first, he repeated. You knew that when you married me. I nodded once. Good to know, I said. I walked out of the kitchen and started packing. He followed me, confused, irritated. Where are you going? I'm going on my birthday trip. You can't just go without me. Sure I can, I said. You made your choice. I'm making mine. He called me unreasonable, selfish, accused me of not understanding family. I didn't argue. I just zipped my suitcase. I went on that trip alone, actually invited a friend last minute. I turned my phone off, posted photos, slept well for the first time in months. When I came home, I didn't unpack. I made plans. The distance between us didn't explode. It stretched. Thin at first, like something you could step over if you tried hard enough. But every day, it widened. Every unanswered question, every plan I made without him, every dinner I skipped, every boundary I held. His family noticed immediately. The Sunday dinner texts started coming earlier, then more frequently. Are you coming? Everyone's asking where you are. It's rude not to show up. I stopped responding. He'd watch me get ready to leave, eyes tracking my movements like he was waiting for a confession. You really aren't coming again? No, I said, tying my shoes. What could possibly be more important? I looked at him. Me. That answer scared him more than yelling ever could. He tried charm next, cooked dinner one night, opened a bottle of wine like we were rewinding time, sat across from me at the table and talked about getting back to normal. This phase you're in, he said carefully, it's not healthy. What phase? I asked. The part where you're pushing everyone away. I'm not pushing anyone away, I said. I'm just not chasing anymore. That night, he went back to his parents' house again. When he returned days later, he wasn't alone emotionally, even if he was physically. His family had clearly been busy. The comments started slipping out. My mom thinks you're being influenced by someone. My sister says you've changed. My dad doesn't understand why you're acting like this. I almost laughed. Acting like what? A person with limits? Then the real emergency hit. He came home late one night, eyes red, shoulders tight. The whole family followed shortly after. Parents, sister, brother. They filled the living room like a storm system, bringing their chaos with them. His brother had been gambling, not casually, not occasionally. Underground games, serious money. $35,000. We need your help, his father said immediately, not even pretending this was a conversation. I didn't sit down, I stayed standing, arms crossed, heart steady. No. The word landed hard. His mother burst into tears. His sister started pacing. His brother wouldn't meet my eyes. He's in danger, his mom cried. They could hurt him. Then he should have thought about that before gambling money he didn't have, I said. My husband grabbed my arm. Please, he whispered. They're serious. So am I replied, pulling my arm free. They started bargaining, begging, shaming. What kind of wife lets her family suffer? What kind of person turns their back in a crisis? We raised you like a daughter. You treated me like a bank, I said calmly. There's a difference. When his father stepped closer, voice low and threatening, something in me hardened permanently. You will not intimidate me in my own house, I said. Get out. My husband stared at me like I was someone else entirely. I'll divorce you, he said quietly, if you don't help. Okay, I said. The room went silent. Go ahead, I continued. Save me the trouble. They left in a fury, dragging him with them. He didn't come home that night. Or the next. I found out later they'd scraped together some money. Loans, pawned jewelry, sold assets. Still not enough. Interest piling up. And somehow, in all their conversations, they decided this was my fault. The harassment started almost immediately. Calls, messages, accusations. Someone scratched my car. Deep, deliberate lines. I filed a police report. His sister showed up where I was one evening, cornered me, blamed me for everything. Then his father showed up at my workplace. Security had to escort him out while he screamed about karma. That's when I knew. This wasn't a marriage problem anymore. It was a war over access, and I had already shut the gates. I didn't break down when they yelled at me. I didn't break down when my car was vandalized, or when my husband stopped coming home, or even when the word divorce stopped sounding like a threat and started sounding like relief. I broke down quietly, alone, in the places no one sees. It was the night I got the HR email. Please come by tomorrow morning. We received a complaint. No details, no explanation, just that polite, clinical tone that makes your stomach drop before your mind catches up. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, every memory replaying itself like evidence being stacked against me. Every time I'd raised my voice, every time I'd said no, every time I'd stood my ground and watched someone recoil like I'd done something wrong. At work the next day, they sat me down with a different HR rep than usual, someone who didn't know me, someone who looked uncomfortable before I even spoke. We received an anonymous report, she said. Allegations of volatile behavior, threatening statements, instability related to a family situation. I just stared at her. That's completely fabricated, I said finally. I understand this is stressful, she replied, but we have to investigate all claims. I walked out of that room shaking. That night, I sat on my kitchen floor with my back against the cabinets, phone in my hand, and for the first time since all of this started, I felt small, not weak, just worn down. This was the cost of saying no. I opened my messages. Dozens of missed calls, voicemails I hadn't listened to, texts dripping with blame. Are you happy now? My parents are losing everything. My brother disappeared. My sister's marriage is falling apart, all because you wouldn't help. I realized something then that hurt worse than the accusations. They weren't asking me to help anymore. They were punishing me for refusing to be used. My husband finally called. First time we'd spoken since that night. We need to talk, he said. His voice sounded tired, smaller than I remembered. There's nothing to talk about, I replied. I didn't mean it the way it came out. You meant it enough to say it. There was silence on the line, then his voice cracked. Not tears, just strain. Can we at least talk face to face? Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met for coffee. He showed up with his mother. I didn't even sit down. You ambushed me, I said. She's here because you won't listen to reason, his mom snapped. That was it. Something inside me collapsed, not loudly, not dramatically, just a final, quiet understanding. There was never going to be a version of this where I was chosen. I walked out, blocked their numbers, and cried in my car for exactly 3 minutes. Then I wiped my face, took a breath, and did the thing I'd been avoiding. I called a lawyer. Because the darkest moment isn't when you're attacked. It's when you finally accept that the people you loved never loved you the same way. Calling the lawyer felt less like an act of aggression and more like an admission. Not that I was giving up, but that I was done pretending this could be fixed. Her voice was calm, measured, the kind of steadiness you borrow when your own has been stretched thin. She asked practical questions. Dates, accounts, assets. I answered them like I was reciting facts from someone else's life. When she asked why the marriage was ending, I paused. He told me I'm second, I said, and he meant it. That was all she needed. The divorce papers arrived a week later. Thick envelope, heavy language, and buried inside the legal formalities was something almost laughable, if it hadn't been insulting. He wanted half the house. Fine, that was expected. Half my retirement, also standard. Then came the extras. He wanted me to pay his legal fees because I had financially abandoned him. He wanted compensation for emotional distress. $10,000. I read it twice, waiting for the punchline. My lawyer actually laughed. Not kindly, not nervously, just a short, incredulous sound. They can't be serious, she said. They are, I replied. That's when something shifted. Not emotionally, but strategically. I stopped reacting and started documenting. Every loan, every transfer, every canceled plan. I built a spreadsheet that tracked 5 years of family emergencies, so on. $24,000, not a single dollar repaid. Screenshots of texts where I'd been told family comes first. Credit card statements showing cash advances that went straight to his relatives. I didn't raise my voice anymore. I didn't explain myself. I didn't defend my boundaries. I let the facts speak. The harassment continued for a while. Attempts to contact me through relatives, through friends, through numbers I didn't recognize. I stopped engaging. Everything went into the file. Everything went to my lawyer. When court day came, he arrived with an entourage. Parents, sister, cousins I barely recognized. They sat behind him like backup singers, whispering, glaring, radiating righteous fury. His lawyer opened with confidence, painted me as cold, controlling, accused me of isolating him and weaponizing money. Then my lawyer stood up. She didn't raise her voice either. She walked the judge through the spreadsheet. 5 years of support, 5 years of imbalance, 5 years of one person giving and an entire family taking. She submitted the messages, the canceled trip, the line that changed everything. My family comes first, you're second. The judge's eyebrows lifted slightly. That was it, just a flicker. But I felt it. The power had shifted. Because this wasn't a story about abandonment anymore. It was a story about boundaries. And for the first time, I wasn't the one being questioned. The courtroom didn't explode into drama. It settled. That was the part I didn't expect. The way truth, once laid out cleanly, drained the room of theatrics. His lawyer tried to pivot, arguing that I'd withdrawn financial support suddenly, that I'd destabilized the marriage, that I'd created hardship by abandoning my role. My lawyer didn't flinch. She stopped paying for her husband's family's emergencies, she said evenly, with her personal income. That is not abuse. That is a boundary. The judge didn't look impressed. He looked tired. Unless there is evidence of abuse or illegal activity, he said, tapping the file, this court is not interested in marital drama. There wasn't any. Alimony was denied. We were both employed, both capable of supporting ourselves. The money I'd earned had been going, documented clearly, to people who were not my spouse, by my spouse's choice. Legal fees? Each party would pay their own. The house would be sold and split evenly. Retirement divided according to state guidelines. No further contact outside what was legally required. Clean, final. Outside the courthouse, his father cornered me near the steps, panic bleeding through his anger. You're really going to let her family lose everything? He demanded. We're going to be homeless. You took out loans you couldn't afford to cover gambling debts, I said. That's on you. We welcomed you into this family, he snapped. As a wallet, I replied, I know. His brother appeared out of nowhere, eyes wild, stepping too close. You think you're better than us? I think I'm done, I said. He shoved me, not enough to knock me down, just enough to send a message. My lawyer was already between us, already calling courthouse security. They moved fast. He was escorted away shouting threats that sounded hollow even to himself. I didn't look back. The house sold within a month. The market was good. After the mortgage, we each cleared about $85,000. He needed his immediately. His parents' foreclosure was already in motion. I put mine into savings. The fallout hit his family hard, and it didn't take long. His parents lost the house and moved in with his sister. That arrangement collapsed under the weight of resentment and unpaid debts. His sister's marriage didn't survive the stress. Pawned jewelry has a way of exposing fault lines. His brother vanished again, skipping states and consequences. And my ex? He burned through his settlement trying to save everyone else. 2 jobs, a studio apartment, exhausted, bitter. Once the money was gone, so were the calls. Apparently, they blamed him for letting me go and ruining their safety net. The irony wasn't lost on me. I bought a condo downtown. 2 bedrooms, a balcony, quiet mornings, clean lines, no spare keys floating around, no surprise visits, no guilt attached to the walls. Every piece of furniture chosen by me, for me. The chaos didn't follow. It couldn't, because I finally stopped carrying it. The quiet took some getting used to. Not the lonely kind, the kind that doesn't demand anything from you, the kind that lets your thoughts finish themselves. In my new condo, mornings arrived without urgency. No phones buzzing with crises that weren't mine. No surprise visitors. No guilt waiting by the door. I started sleeping better. I filled the second bedroom with things that belonged to my life now. Books I'd been meaning to read, a desk by the window, plants that only needed occasional care. It felt symbolic. Everything in my space required intention, not sacrifice. I did start seeing someone new, eventually. Slowly, carefully. She had her own life, her own income, her own boundaries. When she talked about family, it was ordinary. Birthdays, missed calls, mild annoyances. No emergencies, no money, no expectation that love meant surrender. We took our time. I wasn't in a hurry to rebuild anything. I wanted to make sure what I was building had a foundation this time. There was one last message from my ex, a new number, a single text. I hope you're happy. You destroyed my whole family because you wouldn't help in an emergency. I stared at it for a long moment, feeling nothing spike, no anger, no defensiveness, just clarity. I replied once. Your family destroyed itself by treating people like ATMs and refusing to face consequences. I just stopped participating. I wish you luck. Then I blocked the number. My therapist asked me later if I felt guilty. No, I said, and I meant it. Why not? Because I didn't do anything wrong. They had an emergency. It wasn't my emergency. They made choices, and those choices had consequences. Those consequences weren't mine to absorb just because I loved someone who refused to choose me. She nodded, like that answer made sense in a way that mattered. Looking back, the revenge was never dramatic. There was no master plan, no grand speech, no moment where I won and they lost. I just stopped. Stopped paying. Stopped explaining. Stopped shrinking. Stopped placing myself last in a story where everyone else insisted they came first. They called it abandonment. I call it self-respect. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. If you stayed until the end, thank you for listening and for sitting with this story. I want to say this clearly because someone watching right now needs to hear it. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. Walking away from people who only value you for what you provide is not abandonment. And choosing yourself after years of being placed second is not selfish, it's survival. Sometimes the hardest lesson isn't learning how to love others better. It's learning when to stop loving at your own expense. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been the one expected to sacrifice, to pay, to fix, to stay quiet, know that you're not alone. And know that you're allowed to step back. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to stop participating in cycles that hurt you. If you've been through something similar, share your story in the comments. You never know who might feel less alone because you spoke up. And if you want more real emotional stories about relationships, boundaries, betrayal, and self-respect, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself.